In 1956, a man named Earl Nightingale recorded a message before boarding a plane. He left it for his sales team while he was away. That recording became the first spoken-word recording to ever achieve gold record status. It sold over 1 million copies. The message was simple. So simple that when people first hear it, they often dismiss it. But Nightingale called it the strangest secret. Strange because it's been known for thousands of years, repeated by every great teacher, every mystic, every person who figured out how life actually works. And yet most people live their entire lives without ever applying it. Here is the secret. You become what you think about. That's it. 6 words. You become what you think about. Most people hear this and nod. Of course, they think. I've heard this before. And then they go back to worrying about money while wanting to be wealthy, thinking about sickness while hoping to be healthy, dwelling on failure while dreaming of success. They don't understand what Nightingale understood. This is a law as dependable as gravity. Earl Nightingale didn't start as a philosopher. He started as a young man who asked a simple question that most people never bother to ask. Why do some people succeed while others fail? Not just in business, in everything. Why do some people seem to move through life with purpose and achievement, while others drift, decade after decade, wondering why nothing ever changes? Nightingale grew up during the Great Depression. He watched grown men, capable men, reduced to desperation. And he noticed something. Even in the worst of times, some people thrived. They found opportunity where others saw only obstacles. They built while others barely survived. This fascinated him. He became obsessed with the question, what made the difference? He read everything he could find: philosophy, psychology, the great spiritual texts, biographies of successful people. And slowly, a pattern emerged. The same idea, expressed in different languages, different time periods, different contexts, but always the same fundamental truth. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The Buddha taught that all that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make our world. Proverbs, written thousands of years ago, states that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. William James, the father of American psychology, said that the greatest discovery of his generation was that human beings could alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. They were all pointing to the same law. You become what you think about. Nightingale called this the strangest secret because even though it's been stated and restated for millennia, less than 5% of people actually live by it. Most people spend more time planning a vacation than they spend thinking about what they actually want from life. Let me explain how this works. Not as a theory, but as a living principle. Your mind is extraordinarily fertile ground. It will return whatever you plant there. If you plant thoughts of abundance, you will experience abundance. If you plant thoughts of scarcity, you will experience scarcity. The mind doesn't care what you plant. It simply grows what you give it. This is where people misunderstand. They think positive thinking means ignoring reality or pretending problems don't exist. That's not what Nightingale taught. He taught something far more practical. He taught that your mind moves in the direction of your dominant thoughts, not your occasional wishes, not your fleeting hopes, your dominant thoughts, the things you return to again and again when you're alone with yourself. Think of a ship. The captain sets the course. The crew carries it out. Your conscious mind is the captain. It decides where you're going. Your subconscious mind is the crew. It doesn't question. It doesn't argue. It simply executes the orders it receives. Most people never take command of their own ship. They let the winds of circumstance blow them around. They react to whatever happens to them. They think whatever thoughts arise. And then they wonder why they end up in places they never intended to go. Nightingale understood that thinking is a discipline. You don't control every thought that enters your mind, but you absolutely control which thoughts you dwell on, which thoughts you feed. which thoughts you allow to take root and grow. Here's what Nightingale observed about most people. They conform. They conform to what society expects, to what their family believes, to what their friends think is possible. They adopt the thinking of their environment without ever questioning whether that thinking actually serves them. Nightingale said that if you take any 100 people at the start of their working lives and follow them for 40 years, here's what you'll find. 1 will be rich. 4 will be financially independent. 5 will still be working because they have to. 36 will be dead. And 54 will be broke, dependent on others for their basic survival. Out of 100 people who start with hope and dreams and energy, only 5 make it. Why? Because the other 95 never decided what they actually wanted. They drifted. They took whatever job was available. They thought whatever thoughts were convenient. They became what Nightingale called conformists. People who follow the crowd, and the crowd is going nowhere. The strangest secret applies to everyone. It doesn't discriminate. If you think about success, really think about it, you will be successful. If you think about failure, if you doubt yourself, if you focus on what you lack, you will experience exactly that. Most people think about what they don't want. They worry about debt while claiming they want wealth. They obsess over illness while saying they want health. They replay past failures while hoping for future success. And the law responds to what they actually think about, not what they claim to want. Nightingale was adamant about this. You must have a goal. Not a vague wish, not a someday dream, a definite goal. Something specific that you're moving toward. Because without a goal, you have no target. You're just wandering. He would say that a person without a goal is like a ship without a rudder. It doesn't matter how much effort you put in. It doesn't matter how hard you work. Without direction, you're just burning energy with no destination. Think about this carefully. Most people can't answer the simple question, what do you want? They'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want to be broke. They don't want to be stuck in a job they hate. They don't want to feel anxious or afraid. But ask them what they do want, specifically, and they stumble. They haven't thought about it. They haven't defined it. And because they haven't defined it, their mind has nothing to work toward. Nightingale taught that you need to write your goal down. Make it clear. Make it specific. And then think about it every single day. Not occasionally, daily. Because here's what happens. When you have a clear goal and you think about it consistently, your mind begins to organize everything around that goal. You start noticing opportunities you would have missed. You make different decisions. You attract different circumstances. This isn't magic. This is how the mind works. It's a goal-seeking mechanism. Give it a target, and it will find a way to hit it. Deny it a target, and it will simply react to whatever comes. Nightingale issued a challenge. He called it the 30-day test. For 30 days, think only about what you want. Not what you fear, not what might go wrong. What you actually want. 30 days. That's all he asked. He said that most people won't even make it through 30 days. They'll start strong, maybe make it a few days, and then something will happen. They'll get cut off in traffic and spend the next hour angry. They'll see something on the news and spiral into worry. They'll have a setback at work and convince themselves it's hopeless. They'll quit before the 30 days are up. And they'll never know what might have happened if they'd just stayed with it. But for those who do complete the 30 days, Nightingale promised something remarkable. Your life will change. Not might change, will change. Because when you discipline your mind for 30 consecutive days to focus only on what you want, you're training yourself in the most important skill there is, the skill of directed thought. You're proving to yourself that you can control your inner world, that you're not a victim of circumstance or mood or random mental chatter. that you can choose what you think about. And once you know that, once you've experienced it, everything shifts. Nightingale loved the story of acres of diamonds. It's an old parable, and it goes like this. There was a farmer who owned land in Africa. He heard stories of other farmers who had discovered diamond mines and become fabulously wealthy. He became obsessed with finding diamonds. He sold his farm and spent the rest of his life wandering the continent, searching for the treasure that would make him rich. He never found it. He died broke and desperate. Meanwhile, the man who bought his farm was walking the property one day and noticed a strange stone in a stream. He took it home, put it on his mantle, thought nothing of it. Weeks later, a visitor saw the stone and went pale. "That's a diamond," he said. "One of the largest ever found." The new farmer went back to the stream. The land was covered with them. Acres of diamonds. The previous owner had been standing on a fortune the entire time and never knew it. Nightingale used this story to make a point. Most people are searching for something outside themselves. The better job, the lucky break, the perfect circumstance. And they're convinced that once they find it, once that external thing finally arrives, then they'll be successful. Then they'll be happy. But the strangest secret reveals a different truth. The diamonds are already here, within you, in your mind, in your ability to think, to choose, to direct your own thoughts toward what you want. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You need to start thinking differently, right now, with what you already have. If you're finding value in this, subscribe to continue the journey. Thank you. Here's something people often miss about Nightingale's teaching. He didn't just say, "Think about what you want and it will appear." He was far more nuanced than that. He said that success comes from service. Your rewards in life will always be in direct proportion to your service. If you want to earn more, you need to serve more people. If you want to be more valuable, you need to provide more value. If you want your life to expand, you need to expand what you contribute. This is where the law becomes practical. You don't just sit and visualize wealth. You think about who you can serve, how you can help, what value you can bring to the world. And then you act on those thoughts. The mind attracts what it focuses on, yes, but it attracts through action, through the decisions you make, through the person you become as you hold that goal in your mind day after day. Nightingale would say that if you're not getting what you want, look at what you're giving. Look at how you're serving. Because the universe keeps immaculate accounts. You will always receive in proportion to what you contribute. There's a fear that stops most people before they even begin. The fear that it won't work, that they'll try and fail, that they'll look foolish. Nightingale addressed this head-on. He said that the only thing standing between you and your goal is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't achieve it. Think about that. The only thing. Not your circumstances, not your past, not your education or your connections or your luck. The story you tell yourself. Most people have been telling themselves the same story for so long they believe it's fact. I'm not the type of person who succeeds at this. People like me don't get opportunities like that. I tried once and it didn't work, so clearly I'm not meant for this. These are just stories. Thoughts that have been repeated so many times they've calcified into identity. But here's the truth that Nightingale understood. You can change your story anytime you want. Right now. This moment. You become what you think about. If you think about limitation, you will be limited. If you think about possibility, you will discover possibilities you never imagined. The choice is always yours. It's always been yours. This isn't easy. Nightingale never claimed it was. Thinking is the hardest work there is. That's why so few people do it. It's easier to react, easier to complain, easier to blame circumstances and drift along with the crowd. Directed thought requires discipline. It requires that you catch yourself when you spiral into worry and gently redirect your mind back to your goal. It requires that you fill your mind with the right material, books that elevate you, ideas that expand you, people who challenge you to think bigger. It requires that you guard your mind the way you'd guard something precious. Because it is precious. Your mind is the most valuable thing you have. What you allow into it will determine everything that flows out of it. Nightingale would remind people that success is not a destination. It's a process. It's the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. You are successful the moment you set a goal and start moving toward it. Not when you arrive, when you start. Because success is the journey of becoming the person who can achieve that goal. The strangest secret is only strange because so few people apply it. You become what you think about. This is not philosophy. This is law. It works whether you believe in it or not. The question is, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about your goals or your fears? Are you dwelling on what you want to create or what you're trying to avoid? Are you feeding your mind with thoughts that serve your growth or thoughts that keep you small? You have a choice, every moment, every day. You can think deliberately, or you can think by default. You can take command of your mind, or you can let it run wild. Nightingale proved that this works. Millions of people have proven it. The evidence is everywhere. The only question is whether you'll prove it for yourself. Take the 30-day test. Choose one clear goal. Write it down. Think about it every day. Protect your mind from negativity and doubt. Move toward your goal with consistent action, and watch what happens. You become what you think about. If this resonated with you, there is more. Thank you for listening.